Yeah, all right. Well, this is Tom Rathburn from OSBA, from the Traveling Speaker Program. Hey. Thank you. And the Traveling Speaker Program is being provided to us free this year. OSBA's way of trying to help out local clubs. And so Tom has volunteered to do this new treatment. This is the only one that our club hasn't done yet. So Tom, you want to tell us what club you're from and such?
Well, I'm with the Greene County Beekeepers in Greene County, Ohio. And where are you folks located? I'm down around Dayton, Ohio. Where are you guys?
We are just southeast of Columbus. We're Lancaster.
Oh, okay. All right.
So not
great.
too far. Yeah.
So yeah, we're in the same probably 6A plant zone or whatever it is.
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to be presenting a discussion of chemical treatments for Varroa control. But there's a lot of other things we can do to control mites before we get to the chemical treatments. And wait a minute, now I'm having difficulties. My advance is not advancing. I got to get rid of it. Just a minute. Sorry.
Yep. It's no problem. We still see your screen. You're good.
Yeah, but I can't advance it using my normal key here.
Richardson.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Maybe I just didn't hit it. So before we get to chemical, which is near the top of the two top blocks on this pyramid, when we're talking about, and we're going to advocate that we all use integrated pest management, or IPM. And what IPM is that we don't want to just prophylactically, meaning just go out every year at the same time and use, treat every hive for mites. If we haven't already.
Yep, we just lost your voice.
Integrated pest management system where
we're losing you.
Yeah. Oh, you're losing me. I wonder
yeah, why. I don't know. It's probably us. Do the best we can. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, any of you know what integrated pest management is?
Yep. Using it all.
Want to take a stab at it? Well, you're gonna have a problem before you go out and apply your chemical or biological or even your physical and cultural.
Right.
If on your results you apply chemical, you treat to the level that's necessary to take care of the problem. You don't just necessarily go out and apply the chemical when maybe biological or physical or cultural methods would work first. So we're advocating the test and then treat and then test again to see if whatever method you're using is effective. And maybe you start out with drone brood trapping, green board or screen bottom board, and brood interruption, physical mechanical. And if it's effective, that you don't need to go to the chemical. No logical is on the chart there, but it says that there's really none at this time. So you would, if your physical mechanic procedures aren't working for you because you're testing, then you'd probably in the chemical area, if you can use a non-synthetic, we're advocating that you go to a lesser chemical that is not as hard as the synthetic, and at first, and then testing and see if you've treated. Do you have to treat? Well, I must use chemicals. You got a new slide?
Yep.
Did the slide advance?
Yep, twice. This is
Okay,
chemical treatment.
I got a thumb up from. Yeah,
Yes.
must you use chemical? Okay. Well, again, if the mechanical or the
Cultural. Yeah, well, you've frozen again.
lesser on the, we don't in fact want you to use the chemical. So new beekeepers, when we were new beekeepers, we of course got 2 packs about 10 years ago, and we started with powdered sugar because we thought, well, that's going to work. And our first year we had 2 hives, and of course in the spring we lost one. We mailed it in, and the lab said, well, you have a 7% mite. We never saw a mite the whole first year as a beginning beekeeper, and you know, we're starting with foundation, and so there was no capped brood for the mites to multiply. And if we got a good package from someone that didn't have mites sporadically on the bees, then it's not surprising that we didn't see mites. And not only that, but it's extremely hard to see a mite, and particularly for a beginning beekeeper. But when we came out of the first winter and we lost a hive, and we were a new beekeeper, that was a heck of an investment. So we started looking for chemical, you know, or another way to treat. And we ended, but anyway. Then that's the process for a plan. We researched and decided that we would give that. So what do the Varroa mites do to the bees? They directly feed on their bees, particularly the deformed wing virus, and they cause secondary infection. And basically the virus, the cause of death many times rather than mites do. So essential to treat. Your if your mites get away from you. All right. There is evidence, we've coined the phrase parasitic mite syndrome. We can see feces from actual mites on the infection or infestation. Where do you start? Well, as I mentioned, probably the second year going to have maybe a low, should have a pretty low count in a while, because our not be laying a lot of brood, and so there's not a lot of places for the mites to reproduce. But as the spring, summer, and autumn season rolls along, and the bees get real busy and start getting a huge population for gathering honey and nectar, the opportunity for the mites to reproduce increases. And again, as I said, a lot of times you can't see the mite. I seldom ever see a mite where there's a beautiful mite sitting right on the top of the bee, but that's not really what you're going to find. Bee inspector coming out the first year, he came out, went to every hive, capping tool and drones, and opened them up and never saw a mite. So we really we didn't have any mites. So that visual looking isn't effective. You can't just look at the. It's better than nothing, but it's not going to work. So you need to monitor. And the method we're recommending is the alcohol wash. It's the most reliable method to determine the number of mites in your hive, or mite load. So let's take a look here at what we mean. We're going to kill, unfortunately, about 300 bees and an alcohol wash, and then we're going to take a look at the count the results, and we're going to, if we have 300 bees, we're going to divide by 3 and come up with a percentage. So here's a video that shows a alcohol wash technique. It's quick. I might play it twice, but here we go.
I never thought I would eat and have that measure. I didn't believe it until I tried it. It's like in your mind, you're like, yeah. If you shake hands, you shake them hard enough. Anything over 2%.
Oh, pretty spiffy music. You had me clapping there. You're not seeing me, are you, while we're looking at these slides?
Yes, yes.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
Oh, dear.
So don't do anything you don't want us to see.
Okay. Well, I didn't sing along or anything. That's good.
Now, see, we didn't hear the music.
Oh, you didn't hear the music?
Uh-uh.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
my goodness. So I was just sitting there goofing around, huh?
Yeah, well, Tom, we had this trouble when we were trying to do our bee school, and there's some setting down at the bottom. We won't try it now because it doesn't matter, but there's some setting down at the bottom that you have to do something to the sound. But we had the same trouble. We tried to do pre-recorded bee school, and a couple of our newer members who had done the recordings had to do it live on the spot because we couldn't get the audio to work. So we found this, yeah, we did, Linda. So anyway, you're fine.
Okay. Yeah, well, anyway.
Half cup.
Music, clapping and music and everything.
Well,
so does anybody need to watch that again, or we're talking about here?
No, we're good.
Okay, so if you get a 3% mite count, according to the, you're needing to do something about your mite count. You have a load that's too high, and somewhere there's another slide that says 2% in the summertime.
Yes.
Maybe is also appropriate for Ohio.
So we're saying 9 bees per 300.
Okay.
Divided by 3.
Right.
Is 3%, and that's too high, right?
Correct. Right, and
9 mites per.
And 6 bees. I mean, 6 mites per 300 would be a 2%.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
If you have 300 bees.
Yep.
So we're just pointing out that even though this seems low, you might have, I mean, that's 1,500 mites in a colony of 50,000 bees. And so it's not really that low.
Right.
And mites reproduce, I think the number is about 2.5 per brood cycle, more hives. So it's an exponential growth. So if you have 1,500 mites and you don't treat, the next month you're going to have 3,000 mites in the colony. I mean, it kind of doubles every month. So 1,500 mites is pretty serious. And that's just 3%. So we're going to treat. Okay, this shows the growth of our brood. And so we can see from this that right now in August, July and August, we're at the point where we should be treating. Fran and I both have started, we're on our second treatment, and we've seen a growth in mites from our, we treated once, and we actually count mites, dead mites, on a whiteboard after we treat. And we're actually increasing our dead mite count every 5 or 6 days right now. So we're hoping to reverse that. We're going to tell you to only use treatments approved by the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, for use with honey supers on the hive. And we got to follow the label directions. Some chemicals are absorbed and stored in the honey. So we got to get those supers off, particularly, before we treat with those particular chemicals. All right, should you use unapproved? Well, the answer is no. I mean, make up your own or come up with some wild thing that's not approved by EPA. Let's not go there. We have some tools that are available, and we can, they'll work. Many of them will, without harm if we follow the label. All right, so we're restating here that 3% or above, treat. Now, okay. And then after you treat, you should then retest. That's that integrated pest management system we're talking about. And if it failed to work, and apply it again, or use a different approach, different chemical perhaps, or check your equipment, make sure it's working properly. Don't just assume that one treatment or that it's effective. Deciding to treat, again, we don't want to build up, we don't want to keep using chemicals if we don't need to, and risk losing their effectiveness because the mites are able to build up a resistance to it. And we had several other chemicals already that was in our toolbox 10 years ago or so, and they've actually are no longer effective because of that. So I've already mentioned, don't just go out and treat whether you need it or not. So your mite level is 3%. You got to decide which chemical, if you've exceeded, exhausted the other means, brood breaking and so forth, then what are we going to use? Well, if honey supers are on, that limits your choices. If temperature is out of tolerance based on that particular chemical, that rules that one out. So let's take a look at what the legal treatments are. Now, at the very top of the chain is the synthetics, the very top of the pyramid. So these are the most powerful. Apivar is still available, and to just went to a bee meeting this Saturday, and one of the beekeepers there is got 50 hives. He's very happy with Apivar. I'm not recommending it, but I'm just saying that it's still in use. And then these are the next down on the chain that are the natural derived treatments. And we'll talk about each of these in a moment here. So there's the synthetic, which is the Apigar, and then there's the naturals. So what are the differences? Well, the synthetics target the specific functions of the nervous system of the mite. They're man-made. And genetically, the bees can build up a resistance. Another characteristic of the synthetics is that it's absorbed in the wax more so than in the honey. So the non-synthetics are usually less toxic. They have a lower rate of resistance. They're soluble in water, and they have a variable efficacy because of climate. You have to consider climate when you're using it. So let's talk specifically about Apivar. It's a plastic strip. It has, I think it lasts for 45 days. And the fellow that was talking this past Saturday, Sunday, was putting one strip for every 4 frames. And it's pretty expensive. So, but it's effective. He's got 50 hives and he's just really happy with it.
Yep.
Apistan has developed. There's a resistance to it, and some queen and drone health adverse effects. And of course, when you're using these chemicals, you need to protect yourself from use chemical resistant gloves when you're handling the chemicals. And in some cases, we'll see in a minute, you need respirators. So check mite, I don't know that I'm not sure how much this is available on the market, but it can affect queen rearing, can be absorbed into the wax. You can't have honey supers on when using check mite. I believe it has some advantages though against small hive beetles, but I haven't used it. Apigard. This is a thymol-based, thyme-based chemical. One of the disadvantages is that it may impart a taste to your honey. So you don't want to use this with honey supers on if you're going to raise bees for honey sales. Again, chemical resistant gloves and eye protection are necessary with Apigard. Apilife Var, again, another thymol product, but it's also got eucalyptus, menthol, camphor, and so forth. It's a tablet wafer impregnated with chemical mix. It's 70 to 90% effective, temperature sensitive, and the guide says don't use it any more than twice a year. And then this one, you need eye protection and a respirator. Right away, Quick Strip is a formic acid based product. It's pretty popular. A lot of folks use it effectively, but temperature is a real issue. If it gets too hot, you're going to kill some bees, maybe the queen. And although they say it's okay to use with honey supers, make sure your hives have ventilation. Chemical resistant gloves, eye protection, and a respirator needed. Formic Pro, the newer product, and has a little less, takes a little longer to apply. Says it's okay to use with honey supers. Again, same rules that apply for Hideaway Quick Strip. This call it apibioxyl product is oxalic acid. There's two ways to apply it. One is using a drip, and the other is vaporization. It's fairly effective, but only for the mites that are actually on the outside of the cap brood cells. It's on the mites themselves. So the restrictions still apply, no honey supers, because the EPA is the determining, the federal FDA is the labeling authority on this, and if you and the label hasn't been changed, which doesn't allow you to put supers on when using oxalic acid, although the EPA has said that we don't see any damage that's done to the honey in the amounts that we apply, and aren't even going to test for it. But until the label changes, we need to follow the label.
The FDA.
Actually, you can use oxalic acid after the honey flow, and it's effective in the late in the fall and even in early winter applications. So, but you need chemical resistant gloves, eye protection, and a respirator. Hop Guard 2 and 3 is a hops based treatment, and it does work 75 to 90% effectiveness, but it's gooey and gooey and smelly, and you need chemical resistant gloves and eye protection to slop in on. So protect yourself. All of these can damage your tissues. You don't get it in your eyes. Don't breathe it. If gloves need to be chemically resistant. Make sure if you're using a respirator, you need one that handles particles as well as chemicals, depending on which treatment you're getting. But I'm talking about specifically the oxalic acid vapor. Wear long sleeves and long shirts, and be safe. Okay, so here's kind of a summary chart of what we just talked about, and here's the rest of them.
6 to 8 weeks.
Make sure you keep worksheets on your worksheet, or records, I should say, when you're treating. When you treat, maybe this is a little more information than you need, but here's an example chart. Okay, so there's a wonderful guide put out by the Honeybee Health Coalition. It's free. It's downloadable, and it basically, this talk is a summary of what the Honeybee Coalition has produced for your use, and it's really useful tool. Thanks to these people. And here's a plug for our OSBA. We're doing a lot, trying to give back to beekeepers, beekeepers helping beekeepers, I like to say. Traveling speaker program, second from the bottom. There you go. Free. I heard it was free. Great.
Yep.
All right. All right, now here's a disclaimer. So if I said anything, if I recommended a product to you, I can't do that. So erase it from your mind. I mean, I don't think I did. I mentioned some of the negative factors in some of those chemicals, but I don't think I told you use this or use that. I made an example or two of some people that I know that did use a chemical that was effective. But you're free to make your own decisions, and it's important that that you do treat for mites. I'll tell you that. We've been beekeeping for 10 years, and when we first started counting mites, which we don't have a life, but we applied our chemicals, and then we counted every single little mite, and we still do. We've been doing it for 10 years. And we used to have, I mean, as many as one treatment would produce 1,000 mites. So more than that. And I used to send samples off to the Honeybee Coalition. And I had as high as 26 and 27% mite infestation for some of my hives. Now I will say that the hives would, contrary to belief, they didn't immediately die. They would survive the winter, but they would be superseded usually very quickly after, you know, the winter was over. So we lost a lot of, I mean, you know, we lost hives in the summer. And right now, if I understand the data, we're losing just about as many hives over the summer than we do at the winter, and they attribute that to the disease vector that the mites are carrying, and not just the damage from the mites themselves. Okay, now we get to the real stuff. Questions?
How many times a year do they treat?
I don't know if I can hear.
So if you're online, you need to unmute yourself if you want to ask a question. And then I think you can, I don't know, if you can't, yeah, you can type questions in the chat, or if people in the room have questions, I'll just repeat them since I'm sitting close to the computer. Just out of curiosity, Tom, which treatments do you typically use, and do you rotate?
I do not rotate, and I've been using oxalic acid vapor for about 10 or 11 years. We started innocently, not realizing that it wasn't legal, and we got we ordered a manual tool from Heisler. Can you see this wand here?
Hold it up a little more.
Can you see me?
Yep.
Can you see me all right? Wait a minute.
Unshare your screen.
Okay.
And then we can see you.
All right, let me
better.
see if I can do that. So it says pause share. Is that what I want to hit? Pause share.
Down at the bottom, it's either says share or pause. Yes.
See, for some reason,
share or
I see what the problem. Well, I don't know. That's now at the top of my screen. That's been bugging me the whole time.
Okay.
So am I better now?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the no.
Here, I can host disabled screen sharing. Let me just wait a minute. I'll just make your screen share little, and now we can see you better.
Yes.
I don't know about the people online. Can you see Tom fully now, or do you still see his big slideshow?
Well, I
Hey,
can, you want me, I can eliminate the slideshow, maybe, right?
Well, you still have to stop your screen share wherever that, well, it said you paused it. Can you stop it? I don't know. You're fine.
I can hit a
We
new-
can hear you.
I can hit a new
Anybody-
share.
Yeah.
Okay, well, anyway,
Anybody-
yes, we have stuck with it because we haven't seen any resistance to it, and I haven't read about any resistance to it. The Europeans have been using it for 20 or 25 years now.
Mhm.
So but the rules are that you should vary your treatment from year to year so that you're not building up resistance. But with these, I think with formic acid and oxalic acid, that group, I think they're less likely to, it's like a gas chamber, you know, and I don't know
Right.
that you get a resistance to gas chambers.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, and I know, when we first all started using it, we were buying wood bleach from the hardware store, and now they're saying you were not supposed to do that, that you're supposed to actually order the special mix from a beekeeping supply company, because evidently there's
Yeah, well, now I'm not given
residual stuff.
yeah, right. I'm not an official
Exactly.
OSBA spokesman now. Okay, I've given you
Right,
the
right,
official.
Right,
thought.
right.
And basically, we've done some study. We've compared the percent of oxalic acid in certain the bleach, and then various
Right.
non-approved packages. And basically, when it's oxalic acid is oxalic acid crystals, and we don't see any difference in the effectiveness, even though we admit that we have used cheaper varieties and wood bleach to start with way back when.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that's my personal experience and my personal opinion, not the official.
Right.
And originally we had a different vendor. We were trying to compensate them for Bushy Mountain or whoever it was for the money they invested in helping getting it approved out of their
Right.
pocket, which I guess they went under or were sold. Yeah. So anyway.
Yep.
But now it's I don't know who's in charge, but there is one vendor for oxalic acid. And speaking for OSBA, that's the one you should use.
Right.
But the others
Right.
work.
Yep. Anybody else?
How often do you use oxalic acid?
Well, we just started we use in early, as soon as we come out of winter, we use one treatment, which is 2 grams. And we actually use, we've upgraded to this device here. This is about a $400 Oxyvap system. And we will go around and we will give one shot in every one of our hives, and then we will count the actual number of mites that die about 5 days later on a whiteboard. We have all screen bottom boards, and we pull those whiteboards out, and we actually spend an evening and we actually count the number of mites, and that gives us some idea if we that we do that instead. We don't kill any bees to speak of that way. There's a few that might get in, but when we use that system, we're not killing 300 bees every time we take a sample. And so we have a good count, a good idea of, and then we don't treat until after the honey flow. And we just got through pulling 2,000 pounds of honey in about 35 5-gallon buckets from 50 hives. And so now we started treating with oxalic acid vapor about a week and a half ago, and we're on our second treatment. We just treated them again.
Yeah, Tom, I just read something, doing some research about winter bees, that says April 15th is the magic number, and that's about when you treated yours, is that we need to be treating it, or at least knocking the mite counts down by April 15th.
No,
So the fat bees are going to develop and not be compromised by mites. So that's about,
That probably
That's-
depends on where you are. I don't know if in Ohio that's accurate, but I really believe that for us anyway, we waited till not April. That was too
I'm
soon. We
sorry,
had honey.
August. Did I say April?
Yeah, you
August.
said April.
No, August.
Yeah, August. That's right.
I'm
You're right
La
on
La
the
Land
money.
here. Yeah,
You're right on the
brain's
money.
not working. I'm sorry, August.
Okay, yeah, no, August is right.
Because that seems like about when you would have done it if
Right.
you did it a couple
We
weeks
think,
ago.
we think right now we have winter bees being built and
Yep.
we're trying to get that mite count down. We used to wait till November,
Yes.
October,
Yes.
November. And now we're smarter.
Yeah,
Now, we
they're saying
have,
that's too late.
since you asked me, we have a 5% loss rate or less every year for the last 10 years. So we
That's
got a
great.
95% survival rate since we started treating with oxalic acid vapor. Now we don't, okay, so I think that's pretty remarkable
That's great.
for Ohio.
So-
Because I think, isn't the average 40%?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, right around
Pretty
that.
dramatic. Yeah,
According to the honeybee informed partnership, honey
yeah, yep.
informed partnership surveys. But, well, we were pretty impressed with the guy that was using Apivar. Is that the right one I said? Yeah, Apivar. The plastic strips. That's the first we'd heard. And he's got just as many hives as we do, and he's real happy, except he spends quite a bit of money.
Yeah, yeah.
Once you
Well-
once you have the vaporizers, the cost of the oxalic acid is pretty low compared to the others.
Right. I would encourage anybody that uses any of the chemicals to always use nitrile gloves to handle it, because if you get that stuff on your bee gloves, it will be there for a long time.
Yeah, now I will say that when we, I will make a plug for the mask here, because when we first started using that little wand I showed you from Heisler, and we read an article by Randy Oliver, and he said, well, if you just stand upwind, you'll be all right. And he's kind of right. But if you get a whiff of oxalic acid vapor, you're going to be moving upwind or out of the flow. But now that we have 50 hives and we can use this oxyvap very quickly, we can go from hive to hive in about 30 seconds. So pretty soon we have a cloud of oxalic acid vapor floating around if there's no wind. And so this is a must. So we all wear this mask, family, and so forth, whenever we're doing oxalic acid vapor, and we're probably healthier than in the days when we drug up battery around on our hands and knees and it took us all day to do 20 hives without the mask. So I really like what we're doing now from a health point of view.
What is the
really-
power? What is the power source for the thing you are using?
110. So that's a disadvantage.
It's 110, meaning it has to be plugged in.
Correct. It has to be. So we have a 200-foot extension cord out to our bee yard. And that's what we do.
That
And
works if you're at home, but yeah.
now I met a beekeeper in St. Louis that had 900 hives, and he says, well, I got two guys and I have 2 Honda generators, and I just fire them up and we can do 900 hives in 2 days. So, but he plugs, he's using a 110 cable out of a small camper generator or whatever.
Just put a battery on we use a battery on
No,
a wagon or a yard cart.
I want to put a plug in since you asked me. No, nobody did it, but breaking the brood cycle is also something we do in conjunction with oxalic acid. So we believe that is an effective mechanical means of reducing the mite counts. Is basically
So tell us what you do.
what we do is we sell half our bees
Ah,
that overwintered successfully to
Yeah.
new beekeepers.
so you're making splits.
So we're making, yes, we're taking the original queen that survived the winter here in Ohio, and we give it to a new beekeeper.
Mhm.
We teach classes, and if we, we try and give them a good start. We really believe that if you can start with a nuke that has a queen in it, that's basically a hive.
Yeah.
It's a 8-frame medium nuke with a queen that those are all her daughters, and a few guys. When we sell it, well, then we leave behind the hive that has eggs in it, and so forth, to make a new queen. And we get about a 75% success rate. So we lose, we have to do something else with the 25% that we lose.
Okay. All right, sounds good.
How often do you use the oxalic acid?
Yeah, that was your original question, and I never got around to answering it. We do a form of integrated pest management. So right now, we did a second treatment, and it's higher than so a week apart, and we'll do a third because there's a brood cycle. There's a brood cycle. The phoretic mites we're gonna miss a lot of them that are under the cappings on our first treatment. So we do a second, and then we do a third. So after 3 treatments, we'll count, and we will treat again a 4th time, but only to those hives that have, probably 50 or more mites. So if it's under 50 or well, my wife has a different approach. We have his and her bees now. I have 20. I have 25. She has 25. She's never met a mite that she didn't want to kill. And I keep trying to raise some bees that have natural, ability to reduce mites. So I cut it off at a higher number. But if she has 5 mites, she probably treats a 4th time. But we don't, that's, again, this is all personal experience now, not the official, what the labels say. Labels.
And well, Tom, I've heard too that there is a limit to how many times we can safely use oxalic acid without frying our bees. I don't know what that limit is, but
Well, I understand that. And there's a lot in Ohio, there's a very strong reluctance to support oxalic acid vapor because they believe that it hurts the mites, the bees themselves, that their pads. There's some problems with oxalic acid. Number one, they don't know why it kills the mites. They really don't know what the mechanism is. Is it absorbed through the pads on their feet?
Right.
Is it blocking the sphericals? Is it, so that's always been an issue with me. Why in the world don't we pay all these dollars? Why don't we know exactly what causes the death in a mite from oxalic acid vapor? But anyway, so I never observed any dead brood as a result of treating. But but people tell you that, well, this is an acid that's on the larva, and it's going to damage them, and they're not going to make it and all that stuff. And so I would think you would see the bees dragging out dead larvae like it would on when the temperature drops down real quick and they've overexceeded their ability to keep them warm, and you come out in the morning, you got a whole bunch of larvae being dragged out by the bees. I would expect that I would have sometime in the 10 years seen that evidence after I had treated with oxalic acid. I never have. So maybe they eat them. I mean, maybe they eat. Somebody will argue if they want to believe that that's what's happening, they'll argue and say, well, maybe the bees ate the larva and they didn't drag them out. And I said, okay, well, so we've not had that problem.
okay, that's good to know. I mean,
and we never lost a queen either. From on the contrary, I've had queens that 4,000 mites, 5,000 mites one year. These are mite bombs now that we killed over 3 treatments. 4,000 or 5,000 mites. I mean, you're talking 30%, 40% infestation. And they still made it through the winter. But I admit that the queen was done in the spring.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Go ahead, Linda. Okay, somebody asked that they've seen something on the internet that is this little thing with pokey things sticking out that the bees supposedly go through, and it's supposed to encourage their grooming behavior to help them pick off mites. Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah, I have.
And do you think it works, or do you know anything about it?
No, I can't speak for it. I will say that it's probably similar to the way a pollen trap works. The bees, if you're trying to collect pollen, they crawl through a little cone, and it basically scrapes the pollen off, and it falls into a drawer. Right. But we have to be real careful. But I don't know how this one works. But yeah, I remember it was a big splash about a year ago or so, and I haven't heard anything recently. I read about it somewhere.
Well, I know I've seen chemicals being advertised on Facebook that are, you drill down a little bit, and it's coming from some company in China, and it doesn't say anything on the package what's in it, and stay away from that stuff.
Yeah, it would not be approved. It's not, well, I don't know if it's a mechanical,
No, I'm talking chemicals. Yeah.
You can try it out. We have something similar for beetles. We have a hive beetle mechanical thing you fit on the hive, and they're supposed to walk in and drop into the, I think you put like a beetle blaster oil mixture in there, but as the beetles are trying to enter the trap, they are entering the hive, mature ones, they fall down into this mechanical thing and trap them that way. But I gave it to somebody else, and they gave it back, so it didn't function to his satisfaction. He still had hive beetles, small hive beetles.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't work any different than the beetle blaster.
Yeah. Now,
that was not your question, though.
No, and it's probably one of those things where who knows.
So
until there's research, we won't know.
Yeah, back to how many times do we treat? We have treated up to 7 times. A couple hives that were what we would call mite bombs, and we didn't kill it. We didn't kill the bees or queen, but as I said, the queen was superseded the following season in more than one case. I mean, there was several where I had. What amazed me that I've had extremely high mite counts in the early days. Not anymore. We're down now to well, I have the anyway. I have the day before yesterday's numbers, and our worst number was 200. I had 219 mites, and I have them right here if you want to look at them. They're in this little cup, and I don't know, can you see in that little cup right there? It looks like pepper.
Not yet. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Yep. Now we can see it.
Can you see that? That's 219 mites. We counted every one of them, and I picked them up, put them in this little cup.
Wow.
Like I said, we don't have a light.
Do you know? I just happened to pull up the site when I was looking for how many times, and this site is all about using a fogger with oxalic acid.
Oh yeah, we've done that.
What's the difference?
Well, there's I guess Well, the fogger is a mixture of, the one I'm familiar with is the white lightning, it's called, and they mix oxalic acid in a, what's the name of the alcohol? It's not white lightning, that's,
Moonshine.
huh?
Moonshine.
Moonshine.
Well, no, it's, it'll come to me, but anyway.
One of them says just
In
go
about
with water.
80% alcohol mix, let's put it that way, 40 proof alcohol vodka, let's say. And then you have the mosquito fogger,
Yeah.
and you adapt a little cup that screws on, and you put this dissolved oxalic acid, and that's, I think, 30 grams in whatever, 100 many ounces or something. It's got a formula. And then you use the fogger that you use for mosquito, spraying for mosquitoes.
Is that legal?
No, but it does, and it works, by the way. I mean, we tested it. I tried to get permission. Well, that's another story. But anyway, we tested it, and it actually worked a little bit better in one case than my regular Heisler, the first one I showed you with a 12-volt battery. But the problem is that it's you don't know. One time when you pull the trigger on the fogger, it just puts a little bit in, and then the next time you pull it and you hold it a little longer, and then all of a sudden it gets a big spray. It's also extremely corrosive on this on these foggers. It's about a $50 thing, So what's happening is, even though it kills the mites and it didn't particularly kill the bees, you don't have a controlled right dosage.
Yeah.
So so one hive will get more than it should, the next hive will get less, and or a spurt, and then the next one will spray okay and give you a big cloud, and then the next one will get plugged up, and then it eats the life. If you don't wash that thing, it eats up metal.
Eats up the metal.
In your mosquito sprayer, and it's not a good way to go, in my opinion.
All righty.
But it worked.
Yeah. Anybody else have questions? I guess we had people that somehow got kicked off and couldn't get back on. I don't know what happened here tonight. We definitely had some technical difficulties. Is it okay, Tom, that we recorded this, and can we post it?
Sure. Just make sure you cut out the part where I'm advocating or seem to be. No, I'm kidding. You can do it, because I've disclaimed it now.
That's okay.
Really
We'll just put.
You asked me, what do I use?
Right.
I've
and we'll
answered
put
your question as honestly as I can.
We'll put the disclaimer at the end, and we'll be fine. Same thing here. So
The fogger's not a good idea, and it's not legal.
I understand now with the dosage thing. That makes sense.
Although it does work. I mean, to tell you the truth.
Yep. So anybody else have any other questions? No? All righty then. Well, I think we'll let you go, and we appreciate you doing this.
I really enjoyed it. I'm sorry for the technical issues if I'm broken up.
Well, that may be on our end. I mean, I know that a year ago, about 18 months ago, we had a little trouble with Randy Oliver. And when we did it last month, we were in another room in the church, and we didn't have any trouble in there. So, who knows? I mean, it could be on either end. Oh, there's Bryce. He got back on again. But I think it completely dropped at one point, and rebooted here. So that must have kicked people off. But
well, I sure enjoyed, I sure loved talking about bees. I sure wish you all the very best.
Yeah.
Good luck.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. We'll do it again on another subject.
Yep. Maybe it'll go better.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Good night, guys.
Yep.
Girls.
And I won't make the mistake that I did last time where I shut everybody off. We don't really have information for a meeting, but Does anybody who's online have a question or anything to comment about or ask about that involves the club or whatever? No?
I have a question. My
for
bees, like my bees are making a lot of bees, but they're not bringing in very much nectar right now. And I thought that the bee population should get less.
Well, it
Well-
will eventually, but I don't think the goldenrod has started yet in this area.
Yeah.
A little
We-
bit. I know the ironrod's out. Ironweed's
I
out.
think we're having the same situation. I don't think there's much right now. The clover's kind of finished. The goldenrod and asters are not blooming yet. And if you don't have honey, you didn't leave some honey in the hive, you should be considering either fondant or sugar water till you see the
Yeah.
blooms out there, and maybe pollen substitute. We put out a little piece of pollen patty. In fact, I got a little piece right here I've been nibbling on. No, I'm kidding. But we put in a piece about this big and leave it for a couple days. And if they don't take it, we take it out. And if they've got pollen on their little legs, we take it away.
Right.
But don't put a big slab in like we did the first year. And we got a billion cute
Hive
little
beetles.
white hive beetle eggs
Yep.
laid in it.
Yep.
And because I put it in such a way that the top part was accessible to the beetles, but the bees couldn't get to chase them away. And so they did a wonderful job.
Oh yeah, that's a mess.
Uh,
Well, and we're supposed to have, we've had rain for the last couple days and we'll continue for the next few, and
yeah.
they're
So
going to
be
need to have food in there while they're closed in.
Put small amounts and take it away if they don't take it. One more, I want to make one more thing, one observation that I have, and that is that this oxalic acid vapor doesn't, I don't think it's as effective in, say, Florida and California as it is here in Ohio, because we have a winter where the amount of cap brood available for reproduction really dwindles.
Yes.
Whereas in other parts of in the South and in other parts of the country where they don't have the kind of winters we have, I think it's not as effective, the oxalic acid.
You know, Tom, I didn't think of that, but I saw, I think it was Jennifer Berry's talk about, it was either her or somebody else, but who tried to replicate Randy Oliver's success in
Right.
Georgia
Right,
and was not as successful.
right.
And I think they do the vapor is the shop towel thing that didn't work for them.
Right,
And again, their concern was their heat and their humidity, but I didn't even think about the brood. I just, went to the EAS conference and talked to people from the South. And when we start talking cluster and winter prep and everything, they don't deal with that.
exactly.
They don't have clusters of
Right.
bees sometimes at all.
And of
for the
course,
winter.
we just shudder when we see Randy Oliver slopping 2 or 3 pounds of protein patty on top of his hives. I mean, I just, I could hardly, I
course,
can't
he's
believe
a-
it.
he's
But they
very
don't have
excited.
he doesn't have a
Right,
serious
right.
hive beetle problem in
Right.
Southern California. So anyway, so
Yeah.
and the guys in Florida, Jamie Ellis and company down there, they've written a couple articles where they've tested oxalic acid and found that it didn't do any, they did, their results were that
Different.
it doesn't work. Well, I got to tell you, it works in Ohio.
In Ohio, yeah.
It sure does.
That's for me.
Didn't even think about the fact that they wouldn't have the limited brood that we have, so they've got all that brood that's got all the mites in it. Yep, absolutely.
Hey, Tom,
No,
Yeah.
no.
you recommended maybe feeding some syrup because they're light. I was wondering, do you do it in hive or do you do any open feeding?
We don't do any open feeding with syrup. We have we call it a feeder box, but we put a medium super on top of our hive. And then we have holes drilled that will just fit the top of largemouth mason jar, and we can put 2 jars upside down with little holes in there, and then we put the lid on the top. So we don't encourage robbing by having any external, the Broadman feeder, the ones that are hanging outside the hive and stuff like that. We don't find that as useful as what we do. But I modify the inner cover to do that, and it's.
I put number 8 screen over the holes and just set the door on top.
Yeah. Well, we've actually gone to fondant. We pretty much use fondant too in winter because, well, it's more expensive. But if you use sugar blocks, there's quite a bit of waste. The bees don't, you end up on the whiteboard with quite a pile of sugar that never gets used. If you use fondant, they pretty much consume it all, and you don't find that build up to attract ants or whatever. So I don't know. It's twice as expensive as sugar, but they eat it all. And of course, it has high fructose corn syrup in it, which some people will absolutely go berserk over. So, don't want to give that to their bees. But anyway.
I never realized, though, that that's exactly what commercial beekeepers feed their bees. They have tanks full of high fructose corn syrup.
Absolutely. Yeah, maybe that. Yeah, I guess that is what they.
Because it's so
Come
much.
to think of it, I never thought of that. But that's probably true.
Fill their feeders with a hose and and they got a big tank on a truck. We had who's the old former president of OSBA that spoke for us. I can't even think of his name right now, but he's an old timer, and he's, he was a commercial beekeeper, and he said, that's what we feed our bees. So.
Yeah, and I guess as long as you don't heat it to some 160 degrees for any length of time, it doesn't degrade into something damaging to the bees.
Right. The other thing that I heard that I was just so surprised at, but it's the difference between us sideliners or hobbyists, is that the commercial people save and recycle their alcohol for their alcohol washes.
Oh.
And I thought, why would you do that? And then they said, well, when you're testing, you have 300 hives, you don't want to buy alcohol all that much. So that had never occurred to me. So that's the difference.
Well, those little boys make their own, so
Yeah.
Everclear. Everclear? No.
Everclear, or what was the other thing?
I was trying to think of the name of the. I was trying to think of the name of the alcohol they use in the.
That was it. Yeah, windshield washer fluid was the other thing.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, actually, I think dial dishwasher soap will also kill the bees.
Just have to wait for the bubbles to go down to.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I could talk to you all night.
Yep. All righty. Thank you.
Thanks again. It was fun.
We'll see ya. Okay.
Good luck. Good luck.
All right, everybody.
All right.
Sorry for the technical difficulties. We were really scrambling tonight, and I just wasn't paying attention to the waiting room. So we figured it out, but not sure whether the difficulty is coming from here or him, but we did have some weird stuff, not good internet tonight. So anybody else need anything that's online? If not, I'm going to shut down the meeting. And next month we're meeting at the park, and Bryce, if he's still on here, Bryce, get ready. Rising Park, where we did last time, in the back, at the shelter house way in the back. So, okay, everybody, we're going to see you later. Bye.